My imagination's starting to come back. That faculty we had when we were kids that made the world magical is that we had our imaginations intact. And I'm starting to see what all is possible just with turning your imagination back on. A lot recently, I've been thinking back to being a kid, and I can remember the mental space I was in. And there was so much space between my thoughts. My inner world was a playground. I couldn't wait to go to bed each night because before falling asleep, this was a time for me to just lay there in imaginative free play, that silent playground, and create whatever I wanted. And I'd imagine scenarios, I'd imagine all the possibilities for the next day of school. I'd imagine who I'd be when I was older. I was living in my mind. It was a playground. Contrast that with being an adult and going to bed and just being bombarded with all these thoughts and things that you need to do. The thoughts are too loud. Like, think about how different those spaces are. The juxtaposition between those spaces, because I've experienced both. And slowly, between the ages of 20, 25 maybe, it's like my imaginative faculties slowly started chipping away. It was getting caked over. Plaque was building on top of it from all these other worldly things as my life was changing. As I moved further into this capitalistic adulthood. That playground started dripping away until I found myself dry, just hyper focused on the physical world, and suddenly not even connected to those other realms I used to be connected to. Now my mind, my headspace consisted of strategies for my survival and forward mobility, self-consciousness, performativity. I left the realm of play and entered the realm of plan, of scheme, of figure this out, of survive. And I didn't realize that this was slowly making me more and more nutrient deficient. I had to hit rock bottom before I really was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And the nutrient I'm referring to is my imagination. This idea of using the mind specifically for play, consciously employing the mind to create visions of yourself in enjoyable circumstances, in positive high vibrations, creating whatever it is you want to create, whatever it is you want to see. I stopped doing that, and that is the most fun thing you can really do as a human. And I stopped doing that. I just started working with what was right in front of me. What's crazy is that it's actually a different day. I'm just wearing the same outfit. The bandana is actually a different bandana. They look similar, but they're different, okay? Anyway, but I'm just thinking about this, and another reason why childhood feels so magical is that we were so fresh. There was so much space because our minds literally didn't have as much stuff in it. There wasn't as much context, so there was room for us to create and fill in the gaps of what life would be like or what things would feel like. Since we didn't have experience, all we had was our imagination to fill in those gaps. And obviously we were able to color life to look whatever way we wanted it to look. And in a way, we just had access to the natural skill of projection. Automatically, before all the data points and all the other stuff became flooded into our minds, we knew how to make the outer world a mirror of our inner world. That's all it was. The world was whatever we imagined it was. The way we wanted the future to look is how it looked. So we were able to be excited and optimistic. I'm not religious per se, but people like to say that we were made in God's image. I interpret that as we are natural born creators. When we create, when we imagine, when we exercise those muscles, we are behaving in alignment with our nature, with what we're supposed to do and be. The space, the playground that precedes creation, or what is the incubator of creation, the womb in which creation is born from, is the imagination. Using the mind to create visions of yourself in enjoyment versus exclusively using the mind for tasks of survival. I'd lost sight of the healthy ratio that the brain needs. Dreaming, that's really where all creation is born. And if we're estranged from that place, how will we create the magic? How will we create magic if we're not even connected to it? If we've let our magical muscle atrophy. I'd grind and I got the degrees and I got the jobs and I got the better job and I got the better job and I ended up in the office with the salary I always wanted, with the title that I always wanted, and I didn't want any of it. So 6 months ago, I quit my job. I just got really into my art and I got a job as a tea barista. I left the corporate world, I left the salaried life, and I said I would rather make art and pour tea for people. And I'm so grateful I did that. But I know that what I'm talking about is not going to be feasible for people who have multiple kids, you know? The mechanism that I use isn't really as important as the message that I'm trying to get across. So even though I had to give up my nice city apartment, it's all worth it because I've been slowly, over the past 6 months, rebuilding my ability to dream, teaching my nervous system that I can breathe and not be in survival mode, and teaching myself to just sit and daydream, sit and think and go in my mind and create the things I want to see versus all these fears and worries just popping up in my head and me trying to deal with them and dodge them. Like, no, me actively choosing the thoughts that are in here, choosing the thoughts I'm engaging with, and making them all of this positive, optimistic vibration. Your brain kind of starts to take the shape of what's constantly running through it. But I really do believe that we are the compass, we are the dial, we are the architects of our reality based on cleaning out what's in here, changing what's in here, gaining just agency. Having agency over your inner world is what's going to create and cast out the outer world. My imagination is starting to come back, and I'm starting to see what all is possible. Just with turning your imagination back on. That faculty we had when we were kids that made the world magical, it's not just because we were kids. It's not just all nostalgia. It's that we had our imaginations intact. And our brain ratios were like 90% imagination, 10% all the things we need to know how to do as humans. But then as we got older, it's like 10% imagination, if that, and then all these other responsibilities. And it's like we can dial those ratios. We can turn the imagination back up. And as we do so, we feel more alive like we did when we were children. If you feed your imagination enough, it builds a force. It builds a momentum. It builds an energy that kind of forces change. But bottom line, our imagination is the intangible playground where creation is born. That's where I want to live. Yeah, I'm okay being the mad artist who lives in her imagination. I'm going to be that. I'm going to let y'all see the art. Gladly, because that's where I want to live. I refuse to sit here and co-sign the death of my imagination. I refuse. I refuse to watch my life die. I refuse to watch my vitality dissolve because of the pressures of life. I'm going to have to be able to imagine and live and love despite those pressures. And I'm going to do it. I'm not going to lose my imagination. And I kind of understand now why all the rhetoric in those old children's movies and books were about keeping your imagination alive. It's like oxygen for the spirit. And it's like, don't lose it. Don't ever stop dreaming. Don't stop believing. Don't forget your imagination. Keep holding on to it. That's how we stay alive. And we give so much of our energy to all these other things and technologies and portals now, as I talk about all the time, and I won't get into it. But it's like we need to take some of that back, pour it into ourselves, use it to create in our minds, use it to sharpen and strengthen our imaginations. If you have any thoughts, leave a comment. Thank you guys for watching this video. Follow me on Instagram at DesiJones_. But I love you. I hope you're having a beautiful, amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.